So today we've got a conversation with Lightbrush and Valerie Ebua. I don't know if I'm talking about mentioning your name correctly.
Yeah.
Is it Ebua?
Yeah, that was
lovely. Yes.
really good.
Yes. So it's very nice to have both of you here. Sorry, Lightbrush, I can't see your face. Can we see your face and stuff?
Just 1 second, fixing some settings. There we go. Okay. Hi. Sorry.
Yes, welcome.
Hello.
And thank you for joining the talk, whoever is coming. So today we have got just a conversation basically about art and activism, but kind of centering around for racial justice for Black people. So so basically I'm going to start by introducing me and YBI. So I'm Candy, everybody. Nice to meet you. So I am from Young Initiative. It is, very complicated, but it's an art platform and a community. And so we have started this project actually last year. It's about art and activism because I'm actually originally from Hong Kong. So what happens in Hong Kong since last year has really inspired me in many ways, especially me thinking, what can I do in my capacity as somebody, maybe a bit creative, what can I do? So I just started this project, wake up and smell the tear gas, and so I led a group of artists in YBI to explore with me and see what we can actually do as creatives. So it's very nice to have Valerie and Lightbrush with us today because they are they're both based in different places, and they both do very different but very interesting things creatively and also in a very meaningful and powerful way for racial justice. So first, maybe I'll first introduce Valerie Ebua. So Valerie Ebua, she's an artist, a dance artist, and activist based in London. She has recently released her short film Body Data, but she has also done loads of things to do with a Black female body, and she is very vocal. So maybe I will pass it to Valerie so you can maybe introduce yourself a little bit. Do you want to tell us about you?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Valerie. I'm a dance artist, an activist and writer based in London. I have been pretty vocal about racial justice since maybe 2014, but maybe 2016 was when I started releasing written content mainly. And then in 2018, I started making independent projects based on the Black female nude. So I was using my own body as a way of illustrating how colonial art and institutions erase and misrepresent Black females. And I was doing it naked in order to reclaim the Black female body in influences.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, but I think being a woman is already really difficult in this world, even right now. Being a Black female, I believe it will be especially difficult with all this together. So yes, we'd love to hear so much more afterwards. Yes. So, and then I'll introduce Lightbrush. I don't know, do you want us to only refer to you as Lightbrush, or would you like us to know your name?
Absolutely. No, that's totally fine.
Yes.
My name is Mo Angelo, and I have been active not that long in this new civil rights movement that's happening here. I'm an artist that uses projection mapping to animate paintings. We do it at music festivals. I'm part of an art collective called Because of the Lotus. And we use the art is called projection mapping, where you're taking an image or a video and projecting it onto something. We use it to animate paintings, is where I started. And when the pandemic hit and lockdown hit, I started Stream TV, which is an independent media outlet and artistic outlet that is dealing with live streaming and content creation and that sort of thing. That it was really started to be an outlet for like virtual music festivals and events. And when the protests really started taking off here in the States, Stream kind of repurposed. So we started covering protests, and my partner in Stream, he's an amazing photographer and live streamer and videographer named Brian Edward, and he was covering protests in Florida, where I saw firsthand the police officers supporting and protecting white supremacy groups at a Back the Blue rally while they were throwing up the white power hand symbols and all kinds of stuff. And that was pretty much the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back for me. You know, that when I watched that, I've always been against it, obviously, even as far as, you know, a little kid growing up. But that was when it pushed me over the line to speak out and start to use my skills and my art to speak out against what I, was seeing.
Yeah. Well, I actually first saw Lightbrush works on Instagram, actually. Cool. Yes, I just came across his work on Instagram, and I was just like, wow, this is very strong and very powerful. And at the same time, it's quite a simple act, you can say. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to talk to you a bit more about it as well. Did you have some sort of images or something to show us, actually?
Yeah, absolutely.
You were preparing something.
I'm going to jump out of the way here and use this virtual background to just show some of the stuff. This is just some animation work. So not only with projections, I do animation and custom 3D animation. So that's what this raised fist symbol is. The projection mapping, I'm just going to kind of go through where we use projectors and computer video animation software to line things up on different objects. So this is actually the General Lee Monument in Richmond, Virginia. The projections on this monument were actually started by a really good friend of mine named Dustin Klein of Videometry, and he was projecting on these statues in Richmond, and I got fully inspired by what he was doing, and we went and joined him in Richmond to collaborate on this. And that was this night. This same night, that was my first experience at a protest, really experiencing the unwarranted police brutality of firing tear gas and pepper bullets and all. It was just such excessive force for the amount of people that were there. Like nothing was instigating that even started it. It was that experience for me. And then once I experienced that, it was more fuel to the fire. So this projection is of John Lewis, who recently passed away, and one of his quotes. And this is up on the Justice Center in Portland, Oregon, where a lot of heavy protests were going on. That's where they brought in these secret police, like a national force of police that nobody really knew who they were. Supposedly it was Homeland Security and all this stuff. Oop, that's another animation. This is, I'll show you that one in a second. This is on a big stadium here in Tampa where we went and we're projecting some Black Lives Matter imagery. Here's more at the General Lee Monument. And a lot of it is really powerful. We're using images of prominent civil rights figures and using some of their quotes. And so what happens, from what I can tell in these situations, that was an image that night of all the police officers and the tear gas. At this moment, they fired a bunch of tear gas and the wind picked up and blew it all right back at them.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. So that was kind of a cool moment. But people see this, and it's really cool because no matter what the message is, it makes them stop. It kind of breaks down some walls because they're seeing it so big on something that they don't expect to see that on. And whether they agree with the message or not, they still give it way more of a chance because they've stopped to try to process what is happening and what they're seeing. And subconsciously, they're taking in that message, whether they realize it or not.
That's the power of the media, right? Yes.
Yeah. This was another one on the St. Petersburg, Florida Police Department, where they just built like a $90 million building. This specific structure in the front that you see is a piece of art that alone costs like $225,000 or something. So, a simple projection of the defund police logo up right above the police department sign on a brand new $90 million building really helps to make you question why that was needed to be spent there, and why couldn't that go into community programs or other things like that actually help, treat the root of crime as opposed to just processing it once it happens,
Yes, indeed. Yes. And yes, maybe we will continue with your other works, because you also have like animations and all that you just recently created for Black Lives Matter. Maybe we can look at that afterwards.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. So I'm going to quickly get into the questions so I can ask you, and we can talk more about this because there's so much like exciting stuff happening. So Valerie, I was wondering, I mean, it's like I'm quite fascinated because your dominant tool of kind of showing the message is your body. So I just wonder, how do you come about using dance and your body to do it? It's just because it comes naturally to you because you have a background in dance, or maybe because you see that there's such a big kind of like a racial bias within the dance industry, so you actually want to use that exact tool to give them back. Would you like to tell us?
Well, the answer is yes. I trained as a dancer, so I feel like it's the tool that I know and I'm the most well-versed in, to be able to express messages and also, again, like exactly what you said before about like experiencing racial bias because I am a Black woman. Living in London and studying contemporary dance, which is very Eurocentric, it's hard to kind of avoid the institutional bias or racism or sexism or any kind of ism for that matter. It's very hard to kind of avoid or ignore. So I felt like, because I'd gotten to a point within my dance career where I'd danced for most of the people that I'd wanted to work with, and I'd become quite well known and quite well versed in my industry, that I'd realised that the only way I could kind of make it better for other people, other Black dancers, was to essentially start talking about the issues and presenting them within my work. I'm also really lucky to, I practice writing. I don't think I'm like the best writer in the whole wide world, but I make an effort to practice it because I also think that there's just multiple ways of addressing the issue. Not everyone's going to understand it in a dance. Not everyone's going to understand it in an image. Not everyone's going to understand it through a podcast, so I try to engage as many mediums as I possibly can in order to convey the same message. Because people don't always get it straight away, or don't always, or they might come back to it later and go, that's what she meant that when she said this, and now I can look at her work differently, so I think I use what I have and all that I have, to be able to try and address this thing, because there's many layers to it, just as well as like Bush is doing, or I guess his focus is mainly on police brutality and all these other things. I know that my job or my hand in it might be slightly different because I've got different skills to offer. So it's about like recognizing what skills we all have and using them to be able to penetrate this massive thing that, has existed way before us and probably will exist after us as well. But we all have to do what we can and what we know. So I know my body and I know my experience of the world as a Black woman, so I can only put that. It's going to be in my work anyway, I feel, somewhere. But it's only right that I use my body firstly to be able to express or illustrate or dismantle or
And actually both you and Lightbrush, you actually are quite different in your means of raising this issue about racial justice, and Lightbrush a lot on police brutality, because Lightbrush is like really on in the protests at the moment, in the big things, whereas you have been like kind of like divided all this time over the years, doing little by little one and another. So it's interesting because you are both using very different approaches and they both work very well, I'm sure. You both have your fans and stuff. So I wonder, I'm very curious about, especially actually about the dance scene and what you have come across that really makes you feel like, wow, this is like, come on, it's 21st century. Why are we still like this towards Black people? Is that like one particular thing that really made you like, oh, that needs to end or something?
I think just dance school in general, just university, just studying. Yeah. I left very much like, okay, fuck this. I need to figure out like how, because at the point that I graduated in 2014. Bless you. And I'd realised through my time of studying that when I was going to shows in the theatre, I wasn't seeing women who looked like me, and kind of having to, without sounding too cheesy, but to kind of be the change you have to see, kind of thing. Like I think it was after graduating, I thought to myself, right, well, I need to be the girl who, other little Black girls see and go, oh, okay, I can be a contemporary dancer, or okay, like maybe there's a place for me in this. So I think maybe possibly going to uni was kind of the moment, but I guess in terms of like when I really started to be really vocal about it was in I wrote an article for The Stage in 2018 because I'd been in a show where I was the lead in the show and I was the poster for the show as well, so it was all over the UK. The show called Placebo by a company called Clod Ensemble, and the reviews that were written about the show, there was all this language that was reserved for me as the Black dancer in the company, and like really different language for all the rest of my, white and Asian counterparts. And I was left feeling quite, I don't want to say abused, but it really illustrated to me that people still in 2018 can't seem to be able to contextualize Black bodies in contemporary spaces. So I just wrote an article about it because I just got sick and tired of people writing absolute bullshit about about me or my work or my role within companies and or just Black bodies in general when they're not ballerinas or maybe, I mean, I haven't read too much about, I mean, I don't really go to watch ballet a lot, should I say, so I don't really read ballet reviews either, but I'm sure the Black dancers in the Royal Ballet or whatever still weren't receiving some of the commentary that myself and some of my peers were receiving, because they can contextualize Black bodies in ballet, because, you know, ballet's a system where everyone's supposed to be the same and look the same, you know. So I just got really, really sick of it, and I started writing articles, and then the stage picked it up, and then ever since after that I was like, well, I need to start working independently, because I don't want to be a part of this system anymore. But about me and get away with it because they write for the Guardian or Bush, where'd you go?
Yes. What happened? Did I press something wrong? Sorry. No, it's back. Sorry. Yes, continue. Sorry. I finished me. Sorry. Yes. Well, about yes, please continue.
Well, yeah,
no, you finished.
I was finished, but yeah, it was just you know, those were the moments where when I graduated from Contemporary Dance School, and then I guess the final things, the reviews in 2018 for sure.
Yeah.
That was when I was like, no, absolutely,
just have to do something. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's funny because, like, even in the dance world, when you're talking about ballet, but even in terms of ballet, I mean, even the ballet shoes and all that, I mean, it's only kind of until quite recent, I think in the last couple of years, that they actually have like ballet shoes. How do you say ballet shoes?
Yeah,
that actually make it fits the skin tone of Black dancers. And it's like. 2020 now, like, come on, like, unbelievable.
And, I mean, the list continues. Plasters, you know, nude underwear for us, like, theatre. Yeah, it's
wow.
It's level.
When I really started paying attention to everything happening and really came to terms with the term white privilege and started looking into all that stuff, one of the biggest things that really shocked me and like made my brain go, wow, this is so real, is you know, the color of Band-Aids. I have never in my life had a problem finding a Band-Aid that came close to matching the color of my skin. Wasn't like the exact opposite, you know, or something like that. And it's like that thought, when I read somebody say that, I was like, wow, that's a perfect description of what white privilege is, how hard this has been, and how people like me don't even have a way to begin to comprehend that. And all we can do is attempt to sympathize, understand as best we can, and do whatever we can to help amplify the voices, you know, that experience that.
But it's great that you have got the intention to try to understand. I think it's quite important, as you said, like white privilege is something that we just live with it. We don't realize it's there, and it's just like everything just comes so easily. Oh, one day, I don't know, you have to go through this for something as small as this, you know. So yeah, it's tough. And like Rush, so you were in quite a few protests, right?
Yeah,
in Portland and all that.
So we've traveled. I'm actually based in Florida. And we started covering protests that were happening here, and that caused us to really start to look into other things. And we started getting contacted by people in these protest groups that were saying, hey, you know, here's what's going on here. We need more eyes on it. We need more attention. We need people to see what's going on here. In really small towns where racism and white supremacist groups absolutely still exist, are growing, and are infiltrating police departments. And the one city that really it blew my mind being there. I've never experienced anything like it. It's called Graham, North Carolina. And it's a very small city. the sheriff there has been in the office of sheriff for like 30 plus years or something, and it's a notoriously racist and white supremacist town. And we went there, and there was, at this time, they literally removed the right to get permits to protest. In Graham, they have also instituted specific time frames where they call them literally free speech zones, and they have designated specific areas where people are allowed to have free speech, and only at certain times. And so we went there and stood on the corner where, so the big the thing causing most of it in Graham is that there is a Confederate statue right in front of their courthouse that's been there forever. And we went and we stood on the corner where the protesters were literally being arrested if they were in groups of 3 or more. They were not allowed to carry any signs or anything like that. They were being hassled by cops, and the sheriff just like stood out on the square, all proud, taking pictures of the protesters. His buddies driving by in trucks with Confederate flags waving. It was just the most terrifying, like, scary moment, even scarier than being fired upon by tear gas cans and rubber bullets and all that. Scarier than that was standing on that street corner where these protesters were scared to speak and like scared to even be in groups of 2 or more. And the sheriff of this town is just out there, you know, waving to his buddies that drive by, and it's really sad. So Graham has continued a lot of protests. They recently had some projection artists show up and project on the monument, and it's really cool. So like I even went and created a wiki document, and I'll be happy to share some of these links. That is basically what I know about public projections, how to do it, some just general like things to keep in mind to you know, like ambient lighting and how far away you are, and just some like standard rule of thumb stuff. And I put a bunch of links on everything where you can learn about what the equipment that I use and that sort of thing. I've kind of dumped it all into a wiki document to help share that information.
Yeah, that's quite important, right? You talked about the infiltration of the police and all that, and your recent animation that you did actually address that, right? Is it possible you show us some or not really? Because I don't know if you have the setting to do it.
So I think what I'll be able to do here is show it in this little screen. We probably won't hear the audio, I don't think. I'm not sure, we might. But I can kind of, there's just music behind it. I'll tell you a little bit about it. So I've actually blogged in depth about what it means, where it came from, and the idea behind it. But ultimately, there's a string of information that starts in about 2006. The FBI put out a warning about white supremacist groups infiltrating police departments, recruiting within police departments to get more people in these groups, and nothing really ever developed from that, from what I could tell. Just recently, in June, a group of congressmen, men and women, put out a call to the Supreme Court or the FBI to basically release this report in full, the 2006 report, as well as have it updated so that it would be, you know, updated to now, because 14 years have gone by since their warning. There was also a recent study that showed that there's been a 55% increase in the number of white supremacist or nationalist groups in the United States since 2017. So
that's crazy.
It's terrifying. It really is. And so this animation spawned from that. It's called Donnie Trumpa and the Cop Hate Factory, which is a play on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And it's the idea that these groups coming in and infiltrating and recruiting are churning out hate. It's not about hating cops per se, but it's that this cycle and, there may be good apples and bad apples and that sort of thing. But if the good apples don't speak out, they're still part of the problem. You know what I mean? So it's a whole cycle of hate that is produced. And let me, I'll show you the animation. It's actually based on these old Sesame Street pinball videos where they would do these number animations. And let me find it. Hold on just a second. I think this is it. Yes, there it is. And so the idea is that this pinball travels around, it learns a lot of information, and it sees some different things. And so let's go ahead and just kind of watch it and see. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get the audio, but so I made a new 21st Century Fox logo that references KKK cops instead of Fox.
Very good.
So the roads actually form a swastika. I don't know if you noticed. It's tough to tell. There's a clock that's a pig, and it strikes 12. And there the pinball shoots out of the cop car. Kool-Aid Man is a reference to the QAnon theory, and he enters a YouTube rabbit hole there. Here's protesters and cops, and this is where we start to see the information. It happens kind of quick, and you'll see in the end I do like some screenshots. There's a cop throwing up a white power symbol. This is in reference to tear gas that's seeping into people's homes. When the police tear gas residential neighborhoods. This Putin statue is it's a special advisor. Putin comes from a group called the Trump Statue Initiative. They're a group of artists that are doing live statues of moments in Trump's presidency. So here the ball travels in, and you see the ball turn into a KKK member, and they're locking up the American flag. And then here it kind of goes back to show you the data, the points that it was based on, that sort of thing. So it uses humor, but also some pretty intense messaging. The YouTube rabbit hole coming out of a church, basically the message behind that is to, a lot of these QAnon and right-wing theories are almost like religious extremism at this point. They're like Christians are promoting them, and it's very intense to see a lot of non-Christian behavior in comments and in things. It's shocking. So that was a reference to be careful what church you attend on YouTube, type of message.
Cool.
But yeah, so that's pretty much that. I've also done one that this is really cool. I'll show you this one too briefly. It's actually based on a series of posts that were on Instagram, and this lady named Claire, I can't think of her last, Claire Saccardi, wrote this series of Instagram images called "Carrots Are a Vegetable," and it's a great description of what Black Lives Matter means and how to deal with that statement. And I love the post so much that I took the images and animated them, and so you can kind of watch this and see. Might be a little tough to read, I guess, because it's small. I didn't think about that. It is a lot of text. So she's basically talking about how she presents the statement, carrots are a vegetable, and that you don't feel the need to qualify that anymore when you hear that statement. You don't feel the need to describe that. But when we say Black Lives Matter, there's a huge group of people that suddenly jump to needing to qualify that with all lives matter or blue lives matter or this or that different response to that. And the statement doesn't need a response. It doesn't need any further qualification. And so that's kind of what this animation addresses. And it asks, if you felt threatened, if you felt the need to defend that, just simply ask yourself why. Take a moment to wonder why that is. But yeah, so the animation is a really cool way to just sort of make people think about things differently, slow down. It looks different. It's not just me talking about it. It's not just words. It's, it goes a long way, I think.
Yeah, indeed. And it's kind of like, I love them also because they are so funny. I don't know if I should say funny actually, but it's just, in a very humorous way. It's quite lighthearted for a relatively heavy subject. And I believe it's much needed in times like this. And it's also, it just adds the fun into it. And to make messages easier to be understood. For example, this carrot thing is like, oh, now everybody understood now. Okay, because it's like explaining to kids,
Sure. Yeah, and a lot of these subjects are really tough. And honestly, being a part of a media outlet at this point where we're writing things and we're producing content, people really don't read things anymore. They don't. You have to find new ways to present them. We've gotten a lot lazier, and if it's 3 paragraphs or more, good luck trying to get your message across. So you got to find different ways to attend to the short attention span, the meme culture. There's a lot of that goes into this. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to quickly change to go to Valerie. I was wondering because you just released the body data recently with the short film. I don't know if the audience have seen it, but I believe, how did you receive? I'm sure some people might find it quite bold, but me, I don't think so. I feel it's just like, wow, that's lovely and it's much needed. But how did you receive?
To be quite honest, I've had nothing but good feedback.
I'm sure.
I mean, a lot of it's because, I don't really want to say it because I don't feel like it is, but a lot of my colleagues have said that it's pioneering work, or like they've never seen anything like it, or so. I mean, it's bold in some ways. I'm naked and I'm dancing, and I did it because the main references we have for a naked female body is hypersexual, or there's, I guess, ideas of maybe prostitution or stripping or all these kind of things. So I wanted to be able just to present just another reference and just to see if a body can be seen as a blank canvas. I mean, of course not. I mean, everything we know and we have has inherent meaning. So to look at anything as something blank is almost impossible. But I wanted to at least attempt to be able to allow people to see Black women, see specifically me, differently. So the feedback that I've got really has only been positive. I mean, I have family members as well who obviously aren't like super happy with seeing my naked body out, of course, but they're also really supportive because they know why I'm doing it, as opposed to just, I mean, not that it'd be a problem anyway if I wanted to be naked, but like understanding what the function of it is and the purpose for it. I think it allows people to be able to watch it and relax. Also, if they don't want to watch it, they can just click off. You know what you're watching. It's in the caption.
Exactly.
But, if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. But yeah, I think the feedback that I've got in general has been nothing but wonderful and lovely words. And for me, to be honest, it was nice because it was supposed to premiere at the V&A, and obviously COVID happened, so it meant that it couldn't be at this like amazing museum that I dreamed all my life of being at, you know. So it was nice that it was like my audience, and then people from my audience telling others about it, that made it that allowed people to watch it rather than this super highbrow V&A, you know, artsy, you know, audience that will already have their own, I suppose, preconceived ideas about it. So yeah, but yeah, again, like I said, if people don't like it, you know, I it's a bit like, you know, it's just saying, well, you know, or why is it? Is it because, you know, I feel like it's something to do with them personally. You know, if they don't take to it, maybe some sort of insecurity or issue with them.
It could be.
I'm super comfortable and confident in my body and in my message. So it's not for you, it's not for you.
Yeah, exactly. And how, I mean, since you have already kind of been quite vocal and been doing things slowly for Black women, how do you feel when Black Lives Matter, this wave of protest came? Do you feel like, wow, yes, the moment has come, something like that? Do you have that feeling?
Yes and no. There was a part of me that was like, yes, because like maybe this could be the chance for this like global awakening, and suddenly you realise that, you know, things have been shit for a while and things really need to change. And also as well, like I suppose people that again weren't introduced to my work were suddenly introduced to my work. And what was nice about that was there was a lot of people who were kind of jumping on the trend and who now aren't doing anything anymore because it's not trendy anymore. Whereas when people were sharing my work, I was like, yeah, because I've been doing this for a while. So like, it's nice that people are finding it now because, I mean, well, some in a sense not nice because, you know, like it means it's still going on and, you know, and stuff, but like it was also nice because it meant that the message that I was saying however many years ago was still relevant now and people can still look to it, and I didn't seem like a jump on the bandwagon person, but it's just hard, isn't it? It's hard. The answer to your question, I suppose, is yes. Like, I was happy that finally that people were starting to be more active and showed a better sense of moral responsibility. But yeah, like it's again a little bit stressful that someone had to have their neck stepped on for 8 minutes for people to suddenly, I'm talking about brands mainly, not necessarily individuals, I'm talking about like corporations being like, oh yeah, maybe we should post a black square. You know, we should. Although we don't really like it, you know, but at least it's now, you know, now we can start to really do stuff about it, and I think slowly things are changing.
Do you feel like maybe it's like obviously apart from Black Lives Matter, there are actually quite a lot of things happening right now. Maybe we just started to notice this now, maybe, but we have got quite a lot of protests in injustice and against police brutality in, for example, in Hong Kong and then in Lebanon and in Belarus, and then there are quite a lot of things going on in Poland, and obviously loads of things are happening in America. So do you think because of all these, people start to feel like, oh, we want to connect with each other because we kind of want to support each other, because ultimately we might be kind of fighting very similar cause. So maybe we need to like support each other to help fight the demons. Do you feel like that might be a reason that there are more supports right now?
Yes and no. I think yes, in a sense, because everything, I mean, we have social media now, so everything's amplified, you know, like it's so easy to be able to access this type of information. Like I have friends who are from Hong Kong, so I'm very aware of what's happening in Hong Kong. I have friends who are from the disabled community, and I know how COVID's affected them and in their employment and all these kind of things. So I think because of being isolated and not being able to actually go out like we used to and having to spend more time at computers and our phones and our screens, I feel like there's just more time to access and more modes of access to be able to really know what's going on in the world. I mean, we're live streaming this right now. So, you know, like, you know, and I think through that, people have then gone, okay, like actually, if we have to focus on our own individual problems, I say it like this loosely, but in order to kind of solve those problems, it's also about doing what we can and supporting for others. You know, like I can never talk about what it's like to be Hong Kongese, you know, and live in Hong Kong. Like, you know, that's not my experience of the world. However, you know, I know loads of artists that are from there protesting. Yeah, like if there's a protest happening, or if there's a fundraiser that I could donate to, or if there's a person that I can put them in touch with about sharing their work, you know, there's other modes of support rather than, you know, saying, you know, I'm here and I'm going to tell you about Hong Kong, you know, because I think my job in that perspective is to be behind people and support, and so, you know, but in terms of like BLM or in terms of feminist movements for women, of course I have to be at the front line. You know, who else? It wouldn't make sense for you know, anyone else. I don't need people to talk for me. I have a mouth, I have a voice, I have a body. Like, it's my responsibility to do that if I want to change it. But I think that, so there is a bit of that, but then there is also, again, a bit of it being trendy, and people wanting to seem, well, what I've noticed anyway is that the worst thing that you can possibly seem is racist. It's the worst thing. You know, people are like, I'm not racist. I'm not, absolutely not. You know, and whereas actually, like, when you say someone's racist, it's not necessarily, you're not saying that they're a bad person necessarily. I mean, sometimes, yes, like Donald Trump is a bad person. You know what I mean? He's a racist and he's a bad fucking person. But there's some people out there who are racist or who have unidentified or unchecked racial intent. But it's because it's unchecked. It doesn't make them bad people. They're just not fucking aware of this thing that's going on for ages and how easily it's seeped into our lives. It's literally within everything. So trying to kind of identify the people that like are trying to show that they're not racist because they really don't want to seem like they're racist, and then the actual people who, like, you know, genuinely want to make art about this to help, or they want to, you know, donate, or they want to be in the front line, you know, protesting, or I think we all have our bit to do. We just need to work it out and go for that role, you know. So yes and no to answer your question.
Well, but yeah, good to hear all that. And what about you, like, Rosh? I mean, how do you feel when Black Lives Matter, I mean, this wave of protest came? Do you feel like, because obviously you are also a white man, how do you feel like, wow, we really need to, come on, this is the moment we have to stand up for all the Black people, especially in this country, because, well, we are both part of this country, you know, Black and white people, a huge part of it. Totally. So, yeah, tell me, I mean...
I watched it happening. I saw it. So in 2017, there was in Charlottesville, there was a big, like, alt-right demonstration during protests, and all that happened. And I watched all that happen, and something inside of me said, okay, is this really real? Is it really happening? What's the story? I almost didn't want to believe it. You know what I mean? I almost didn't want to believe that it was that sad and that it's that still prevalent. And then after George Floyd and everything erupted, it still even took me a minute to find my proper voice, because I was dealing with things like researching defund the police and what that means, because it is a shocking phrase and it is part of the Black Lives Matter movement here. And it, you know, when I first read that, my first instinct was, wow, that's, maybe we need some rebranding or something. That's kind of scary. And I had the same thought everybody else did. But the more you research it, it's like, no, that's the point of the phrase, is to shock you into responding and maybe looking into what they're talking about. Defunding police doesn't mean removing all funding. It doesn't mean abolishment of police. It means taking some of those large, big, bloated budgets and maybe not spending it on a $250,000 sculpture, maybe investing some of that into community programs that truly treat the root of crime. And so that was a big part of it. And once I started to research those things and come to terms with what white privilege meant, I had all the reactions that everybody has to this stuff. The difference is I looked into it and really wanted to understand and change what I needed to change to make sure that I'm not a piece of shit racist person. I mean, it's not hard, like Valerie said. I mean, it's really what it comes down to. It's not hard to pick the right side of the argument here. It's really not. You have to break down your walls of defense that make you scared of it or whatever. And you have to understand and you have to, research it to be able to do that. So those were a lot of the big moments for me. And now that it's happening, I can still watch, especially, I mean, stream TV is pretty outspoken. And so we get a lot of troll comments and things like that. And I really get to see face to face some of these crazy theories that people really believe. And it's tough to, keep battling that, because I do talk to them in these comments. That is just as much a part of my activism as projecting these things, is dealing with the comments that come after it and the conversations that come after it, and trying to talk to people and make them see in a way, that what this is about. And you do have a lot of preconceived notions to get through and media bias to get through, and you don't know what people are consuming or like what level of education they've had, or when you're talking to them online, and it's such a stark change from the way society has always operated, because now the very first time you meet someone, you become friends on Facebook, and within a month you know exactly how they feel about every political thing, every whatever, where before, communication and relationships developed completely opposite from that. You become someone's friend, you get to know them before these real heavy conversations start coming out. And so then you have people just battling back about what they think and feel, because that's what they have for so long, without ever even addressing the topics or reading or they just defend. And it's just a constant argument. And so there's a lot of that really goes into patience and understanding and really thinking before you speak or type, because you react a lot, and that doesn't help a conversation, when you're just reacting and yelling at somebody or whatever. And I struggle with it. Sometimes you can tell there's days where I'm just like, I look back at comments, I'm like, must have been a rough troll day that day, because I was a little short or I was a little sarcastic or whatever. And it's like, well, sometimes it comes down to that, and you have to be that way with people eventually. And I only really go to sarcasm or joking when I've exhausted every other effort in conversation with providing sources or, that sort of thing. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know if that got way off topic from the question, but
no, it's okay. No, but that's great. And I mean, how do you feel? I mean, for example, for fellow creative people, I mean, you also have I've noticed you also have quite a lot of creative tools that you can use. For fellow creatives, what would you say to them if they want to do something but they don't know what to do? For example, somebody who just say, well, I can only paint. What would you say to them? Like, if they want to support a certain cause, what can they do? What would you recommend?
I think the biggest thing at this point is find your voice, whatever it is. I don't care at this point. So much, I don't care if I agree with your message or not. Use whatever possible tools you have to speak out for whatever it is that you believe in. Please, because even in what I'm doing, so many times, literally today, I'm fielding comments almost an hour before we were going live. Somebody suggesting things that I should be protesting. You know what I mean? So like they'll be like,
I hate that. Oh God.
Why are you protesting pedophiles? Or why aren't you protesting this or that? Or like, why aren't you doing it this way? Why are you blocking roads and all this kind of stuff? Wrong way to go about it. You exercise your First Amendment rights. If you want to protest about something, organize something. Go stand out there with one sign by yourself. I don't care. I want you to speak out and find your voice, whatever it is, research it, and then find a way to speak about it with whatever way you can. And I'm telling people that because I hate this go protest this way or go protest that way or go protest this. That comment is like the most absurd thing I've ever heard in my life. Mm. That is the epitome of privilege, and it's disgusting to me.
Yeah, and I also believe that because the fact that we actually all have different tools with us, like there are different things that we can do that we are good at. So I think ultimately it's about finding, we have got a late admission. I'm just gonna mute the video so I don't do anything crazy. Oh, sorry. Yes. Oh, I've got a nice picture there, by the way. But sorry, where was I? So yeah, I believe we all have different tools. So ultimately, it's not really, there's no one way of fighting for a certain cause. Yeah. We are all different. We just need to respect each other's choices and skills to do what they believe in. So that's it. There's just no point in telling people, okay, you need to protest there and you need to do it this way because we are all different. I guess that's ultimately what activism is anyway. And what about you, Valerie? I mean, if you have like fellow creatives around you who want to say, okay, I don't know what I can do, for example, for me as a Black person or as a woman, so where would you advise them to start?
I mean, I think, first of all, like, you can, like, take a moment to, like, just decide what it is that you want to say and really, like, think about it. Because, I mean, yeah, you can say anything, but once you put it out there into the cyber world, it's there for good. You know, there's a cyber footprint of that. And also you have to be ready to answer for it. I feel very confident about everything I basically put out because I know that I'm ready for someone to come at me with it. You know, I'm ready for someone to come and talk to me because I've done my reading. And even if not, I'll be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to go and have a read of that and I'm going to get back to you because I need to do some research. You know, I also think as well, it's okay to try and get it wrong. I think you'll probably get it wrong a few times, you know, before you start really getting it right. And it is about practicing and it's about, I suppose finding your tribe, finding people who are going to be honest with you and tell you whether or not you're being offensive or you're chatting shit or, you know, but I think, hold back for a second, think about it and then go. There's so many ways you can be active in this. Like I do this thing where every Friday I make something shitty. I might sing, I might dance, I might write something. And it's about me just illustrating that you can always be creative It doesn't matter about like whether it's necessarily that good or not, but you can always be creative. So yeah, if you've got these tools or don't, the only way to be able to obtain them is if you practice and if you try. So yeah, I'm a big believer in trying, going for it. But yeah, again, also research, and just being ready to answer to people.
Yeah.
You know, it's a war zone. Social media is a war zone.
Indeed. I guess it's like kind of making it easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think now I've toughened up because I've had people, you know, say to me that, you know, that's not racist. What do you mean? This thing that's happened to you, it's not racist. And I've been like, oh, you're going to school me and expert me on something that I've done my whole entire life. Like, it's not been a part of my experience, but you want to school me about what it is? Cool. Yeah. Like, you're very far on your journey. Like, you can stay there or not, whatever. I'm going to continue on doing my thing because I know exactly what Brush said. Like, it's for me, it's not hard to know what side of the you need to be or what team you need to be on. So yeah, do what you can. And also as well, some people, you know, that journey is also allowed to change. I feel like when I was writing about stuff in the beginning, I was really nice about everything and trying to carefully explain to people what was happening in the world and trying to be really sympathetic and really empathetic. You know, so I called it like my Martin Luther King stage, totally in my Malcolm X stage now. Like, totally at that point where I'm like, no, I'm going to say it to you like this. If you can't hear it, good for you. Next person. Like, I think, you know, there's times where, you know, you're allowed to shift and change in how you speak or what you want to say, and also, you know, who your audience is, because that's really important. You know, you're talking to some people who, you know, need to hear things in like directly, then yeah, be direct. If you know you need to sugarcoat some shit, sugarcoat it. Like, you know, like, understand what the fight is, understand who you're talking to, and be ready to mold and adapt and read the room, essentially.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, actually, when you were talking about like somebody telling you what is racism and what is not, actually reminded me of a little story, a little episode of me back when I was actually living in London. That was when I was like doing a part-time job in a restaurant in Shoreditch. So yeah, it's a nice place. But one day, so there's like a whole table of men. They're having food, and this guy started like touching my back like this, and I didn't like it. So I just like, can you just take your hands off? And then he's like, whoa, why are you so sensitive? I was like, well, because I don't like it. Remove your hands, respect women. I said to him, respect women. And then the whole table was like kind of going against me. No, you're wrong. I was like, sorry, I'm the woman here. This is my body. And I say no. So I can't be wrong. But then I actually have a group of 8 of them, just shouting against me, saying I'm wrong. I was one woman and nobody around me helped me. Actually, the whole restaurant, everybody was looking and nobody actually helped me. It's okay, but I was still kind of trying to fight. But it's like, he's like, oh, you're wrong. I mean, it's not a very big thing, but darling, this is my body. And I say, I don't like it. So there's no way that I'm actually wrong, sorry.
Yeah, it also is a big thing though, because it's someone completely denying your experience. You know,
yeah.
I'm a woman. How are you to tell me?
Come on, I mean,
my whole entire life, my whole entire experience of the world.
Yeah,
you know, it is a big thing. It is, you know, and it's great that, you know, you've identified that actually no, that's not how you're gonna talk to me.
No. It's also kind of like, for them, they're like, well, but then I was just touching your back or just stroking your back and stuff. I was not like raping you or whatever. Why are you so sensitive? But I just don't like it. So I think I'm the raider because I don't like it. So that should be the end of the story. And, you know, you just can't tell me that, oh, well, you're wrong. It's like, it was shocking. It was a really shocking experience to me when you've got a group of 8 men telling me I was wrong, but actually it was my body. Like, wow, but so I really understand what you meant. That's what I was gonna say. But anyway, there seems to be like kind of like common theme between you two when you talk about like what you can do as a creative or anybody. The first thing seems to be to understand what I heard from both of you, and I think I think it's a key takeaway here, and it's very important to know what you're talking about and or maybe first understand how it is on the other side. So I'm wondering, you have questions for each other at all? But you don't have to. If you don't, then you don't. I'm going to open it for the Q&A then.
Wow, cool. Let me think for a second.
You don't have to ask anything.
I mean, I would like to know, like, what the future is for your projections and things, because, I mean, in terms of here, I say here in London, I'm actually in Germany at the moment. In London, when I'll be back in London next week, a lot of the protests and stuff have really died down, basically.
Sure.
So, like, in terms of all of that kind of coverage, there doesn't really seem to be much unless you're on this, essentially. Whereas when June 2nd came, there was people, masses of people kind of getting involved and doing this sort of stuff. So I was just wondering about, like, I guess the future of your, obviously it's still kind of rampant in America.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess kind of like the future of the projections and when, if it does eventually slow down.
Yeah, so there's we actually have a few things in the works that I presently can't talk about. It's getting close, but we are going on it looks to be a pretty big tour going around before the election to kind of share some important information with some people. So that's about all I'll say right now. So there's definitely a future. The best part about it is that it is really guerrilla type of art, really pop up. So if something calls for it, if I really need to say something loudly or want to support something, we can get out there. And the cool thing that I'm most excited about, I think, for the future of it is not even my personal projections. It's taking off. It's in Portland just recently. They projected their demands for the protesters projected their demands right up on the Justice Center. And it was like speaking to the mayor in projections that say, here's our demands and we want this addressed. So it's taking off. And like, so for me, I think the most exciting thing about the future of it is that, I even in creating that wiki document to share what I know, I'm really all about this movement. And like I said, it doesn't matter to me anymore whether I agree with your message or not. I would rather you get out there and say what you need to say as opposed to telling me to go protest it for you or whatever, So like, I think a lot of it is just, think about what you want to say, how you can say it in a way that might, catch some people's attention other than just saying it. How can you do it in a way that's going to make people think about your message differently or break down barriers, of thinking about it and that sort of thing. But I do think, the future of it is really in that it's taking off and it's easy to do, and technology has advanced so much so rapidly that, a really bright and powerful projector is $500 or something. It's like a lot more reasonable to get the tools to do these things than it was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So do you have more questions for each other? Otherwise, I'm just going to open it up to the audience so they can show their face.
We can open it up.
Yeah.
Valerie,
everybody.
I'm not fully like informed on everything that you've done, but is a lot of it like public performance, or is it done and then released, or?
Good question. A lot of it actually is digital. A lot of it's like film, photos. I collaborate a lot with painters and illustrators. So I did a whole series basically of nude images, basically highlighting points in time where Black women were erased. And then I kind of moved into film. So I talked a lot about Polaroids and how they're rendered to white bodies, and then black and white film and all these kind of things. And then Body Data was the end of that project, which was a nude dance film I released. So yeah, most of it was supposed to go at the V&A, but then COVID happened, so then I just put it all online. I was just like, fuck this, like everyone needs to see it. So yeah, but I hope now to do more of it, now that theatres are kind of opening a little bit again and stuff. I'm hoping to move into the live performance role again.
Cool. Thank you.
Ooh. Okay, now then I would invite all the audience, if they would like to share a video, they could share the video, and it will be nice that they can join us in the conversations. Hi, people. Hello.
1 second, I'm trying to get your video in there.
Okay, I don't know if I've got everybody. Yeah, but anyway, so welcome everybody. Nice that you joined us. And I'm wondering if you have questions for the two speakers.
This is not really a question, but this is more just a request. But no, that's okay. No, it's really, it's possible to share like a link to, for example, like Rush's wiki page, resource, and also Valerie, where can we find your work? We can share it on the chat box.
Yeah, I'll definitely put this link into the chat box for my thing. It's actually on a, hold on 1 second. It's on a partner of Stream TV. They're called Radio Free. I'm going to see if I can get this document just a second here. Yeah, radiofree.wiki is the website. Oh, it's actually down right now. So hang tight. I'll get that link for you. It is down. Their website seems to be down, so I'll message the guy right now. But yeah, I'll link it actually in the event page on Facebook too, and then Candy, you can share it anywhere that you like as well.
Cool.
Everything's on my website, and if not, on Instagram. So I put it in the chat. You can find, or just Google me.
Yes, yeah, cool.
Awesome.
So, are there questions for the speakers? Okay, if not, then, well, okay, please.
I don't really know how to ask. I know I want to ask, but I don't know how to word it, because I feel like in lockdown for me, I think I've just been really thinking about this a lot, and it would be interesting to hear people's views on it. I think because a lot of people who haven't previously been like that involved in like activism and stuff got a lot more involved. I think people, which you had said earlier in the evening, and there seemed to be obviously like with everything happening in Yemen, and then like obviously Black Lives Matter and things like that. I was trying to, it's because I was having a debate with my parents about Black Lives Matter, and they were all like totally, on the right page. But then my dad said something about like, at what point do we prioritize the lives of Black people in a Western world? We're not like prioritize over, because obviously that's not what it is, but like, how do you, he was saying like, why are you putting more energy into that, into children who are dying in Yemen? And obviously like, it's hard because I feel like especially in lockdown, when there was so much like on social media, like I couldn't even go on my social media without seeing something that was like quite a lot of it was quite like, you know, really emotionally like draining things to which we needed to be looking at and reading about and stuff. But how do you negotiate that feeling of like, because I was trying to like, sorry, I'm going on. I was trying to when I was talking to my dad about it, we were saying how there's kind of like tiers of what, so there's obviously like white feminism, which is like women in, you know, kind of like second wave, you know, like not wanting to be the housewife figure and like the wanting to like have equal pay and stuff like that, and like that is a lot of people's main focus in their activism. But then that's like kind of first, you know, that's kind of like, I feel like that a lot of that's been not addressed. Obviously, there's still problems, but then underneath that is like Black women who are very much erased from like a lot of, you know, basically all of first, second, third wave feminism. They're like not in the picture because the housewife figure doesn't really apply to Black women because of the history of everything, you know, with slavery and everything like that. The housewife figure never really emerged. But then so there's like that kind of that tier, but then how do you, I'm finding it really confusing to like negotiate which, like, how do you decide where to put your energy? Because then it's like, then there's the people below that who are like in humanitarian crisis. I don't know what I'm asking. I've just rambled on, but do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Totally. Lightbrush, do you want to go or shall I?
Go for it. Yeah, you go.
Okay. So I would say firstly, like, it's really hard for me to talk about white feminism because I don't believe that should even be called feminism in the first place. So if that's where your concern is, then I feel like you'll always do yourself a disservice, basically, because it will mean that you're constantly missing out on pretty much everyone. What I would say though is that just pick what hits you the most and make that your, I would say, primary goal. And then everything else, you make it the secondary, third, whatever, you know. Like for me personally, I have to concentrate on Black women because I am a Black woman. It really affects me. You know, so if I was to sit there and concern myself with anyone other than that, then I'm literally doing myself a disservice. However, you know, I actually spend most of my time actually talking about and donating to Black trans women, even though that's not my experience of the world, because I know that, you know, regardless of my lack of privilege, I'm still more privileged than them. So I give my attention to them because I feel like that's my responsibility as someone with a little bit more privilege. But then, for me, every day I look to do something different. Every day, you know, I recently took a course with Paradance to learn how to be able to teach disabled people because there's only apparently 4 other people in the whole of the UK that has this certification. So I thought, what the fuck? Why don't people want to teach disabled people? Like, this is why disabled people don't have a place in dance, or there's only 2 dance companies that can take them on because there's no one bothering to try and to support them. So it can get overwhelming. You will get overwhelmed. The world is shit. There's a lot of shit, you know. Like you will get overwhelmed with it all. But I think, you know, if you decide to have your main focus and, you know, really work on that, but then also as well make sure that you're giving to all the other things, but you literally can't do everything. You can't, you'll exhaust yourself. And I think the best activists, I believe, are the ones that know what their lane is, know what their art is, and they pursue that and they follow that, you know. If the protests here in London, you know, were the same as they were in America. You know, if there was, you know, if police brutality was the same, I'm not saying it's not bad in the UK, it is fucking bad. But it's a very different ballgame because we can't own guns and all these kind of things. But my eyes would probably be more there, you know, but it's a different situation in London and in the UK. So my eyes are in different spaces, and also I feel like I know what my role is and what I can do, so I commit myself to that. But yeah, I would say don't try and take on everything because it's not possible. You know, Rennie Edulodge writes about Black British racism. That's her lane. You know, she's not speaking about people in Yemen because she lives in London. So
indeed, yeah,
that's what I would say. But it's great that you're already being like, okay, like there's so much going on. What do I do? You know, that's already like a good place.
I'm like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. No, but I completely understand, because there are days where I'm like, fuck, you know. Well, yeah. Do I have money? Where is it going to now? You know, like it's you know, or I need to be on Instagram and say, who am I talking about today? You know, there's a lot going on, you know, and we have, again, a lot of access to it. So it's hard to kind of shut yourself off. But I would say pick something and go with it. Yeah. Brush.
I know, you nailed it. There is so much out there. So really you just take it in. Researching the stuff is key, you know, really finding what calls you and then researching all of it and finding what you want to say in your voice. And the research is definitely some of the biggest part of it, because you want to make sure you're as informed as you can be. Because a lot of these activist actions do have just as many people that don't agree with it, and they're very vocal about it online. And so, you know, if you are doing something and plan on putting it out there, you know, Valerie said it also, be ready, you know, so like you want to have your arguments, you want to really stand strong in what you know you believe in and why you're speaking it up. And I think as long as you do that, you've got a lot better of a start than most of the people that just yell about it and disagree with it. So there you go.
Yeah, I have to agree. Also with Valerie, I believe it's the most important that we just do what you believe in and what is the closest to you. I mean, at some point, yeah, I mean, there are so many things happening. You want to help everybody, but in practice, it is impossible. For me, I mean, the main thing for me is for Hong Kong right now, because that's where I'm from, and that affects my family. So that's something that is the closest for me. So for me, I can only put my attention there mostly. And I think there will be moments you feel left out, or you feel like, oh, but I want to help them too. But then I'm not doing anything for them. But then you are only one person, and it's the most important that you do what you believe in. And when
you're doing it right now, like, you know, you create an event for BLM, you know, even though you said that your concerns with Hong Kong, you know, like, yes, that's your primary concern, but you also realize that there's other things going on, should I say, in the world, and you have a platform to be able to support others to talk about it. So I think it's a perfect example of how you can be focused, but also, yeah, like be broad too. Yeah.
Thank you. Do all these answer your questions? It does. Yes.
It does. That was really helpful.
Sorry, we didn't make you more confused. Are there any more questions or?
Okay. It was a really interesting and great discussion, but I feel like everything's been covered. But thank you so much for sharing about your practice.
Of course.
Thank you, Valerie and Lightbrush. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay then. Well, it's very nice to have all of you here, and we also have quite a lot of audience from somewhere else in other platforms that are watching the live stream. So yeah, thank you for everybody, and thank you, Valerie, Lightbrush. That's very nice exchange.
Thank you all. It was a pleasure. It really was. I enjoyed this format, and I hope you continue it and keep us posted. We'll share it whenever we can. It's really interesting.
Yes, and I will look forward to what both of you keep doing, because both of you do very, very cool stuff. So, yay!
Thank you all so much.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good evening or good day in America. Ciao.